All right. Things working now? There we go. Okay. Yeah, I'm getting called out on the YouTube side by Yawn. Countdown was a lie. I'm sorry. Um, I don't know what it is, but when Streamlabs updates, it decides that it needs to just leave all of my audio equipment named like random useless things. And it takes me a while to track it down. And today I am a little bit behind. Just a lot of stuff going on today. So before the stream, I upgraded everything. Let's see. Let's go take a look. So, what did I do? So I upgraded. Man, now I decide to cough. I upgraded all of our dependencies. Oh, I grabbed marked again. We'll probably wind up downgrading that again. Upgraded Angular to version 17.32, and I upgraded NX to version 18.21. So I did all of that before the stream, and then we are looking at the site right now as it is. It is great to see you, Jan. Always enjoyable to have you in the stream. And we will be using Webstone today. But you know, in my tweet, I said, you know, unless I get nerd sniped, I don't comment on how many times I nerd snipe myself, right? And I decided, you know, let's go take a look at Lighthouse and just see, right? I'm building a site. We'll just generate, and part of this could be that I'm streaming, but let's just see, like, you know, what does a page load do? And how fast is it? And man, oh no, we're not good. Like, I haven't even deployed this. I'm using test data, and my performance sucks. And you know, let's do a mobile load too, because that's the first one I ran, and we're at like a 50 on Lighthouse. So yeah, like my performance is at 50. So I'm obviously doing something wrong. 30 seconds for my LCP? How is that true? That can't be true, can it? Like if I come here and I just refresh the page, one second. What are you telling me, Lighthouse? Oh, incognito. Okay, let's do that. Let's go incognito. So localhost 4200. And so here we are, incognito mode. And we will grab our F12, and we will try our desktop and just see, like, the page is loaded in the background. Wait, did you guys see that? There was a double load. At least I'm following best practices. Server images with low resolution. So we're getting back a 250 by 250, and it wants a 375 by 375. Interesting. Not sure why we're doing that, but so FCP at 1.7, LCP at 5.4. Where is it? Like if we put this back on the side and I run this, I mean, I'm not seeing 6 seconds. It might be this image here that it's complaining about that I've lazy loaded. But that doesn't seem like the LCP. The LCP should be most of the text, right? And how is it coming up with these numbers? Because I'm getting like 8.5 milliseconds and 126. Let's try disabling the cache. Maybe the cache is working to my benefit, right? And Lighthouse runs without the cache. So let's see, without the cache, am I faster? How does that work? How do I get faster with no cache? Oh, like milliseconds. Yeah, I'm concerned that it's this that's giving me my LCP because it sits there for 3 seconds before it loads. You can see it waits for over 3.5 seconds before it even loads. That's another half second coming back. So my LCP is horrible. I always forget what TBT is, but hey, we're great there. The cumulative layout shift, we don't jump around. We did in the beginning, but we fixed that. SI. So this is first contentful paint, and this is the largest. This is where we're getting killed, is on FCP and LCP. SI is speed index of 1.8 seconds. Total blocking time, 40 milliseconds. So we're doing good on total blocking. We're doing good on cumulative layout shift. Our speed index could be better. FCP and LCP are terrible. Oh, wow. Do you guys know this was here in Lighthouse? We've got a bundle analyzer built right into Lighthouse. I had no idea. Tree shaking isn't happening here. That's the other thing that we should probably do if we're going to run Lighthouse. Let's kill this. And we can do pnpm nx serve our Angular blog. And then I think we want environment equals production. Is it environment? I always forget. We'll find out. So it looks like we built Daisy's all there. So now we should have some tree shaking going on. So if we pop out our dev tools again, and let's kill these off. And let's generate a desktop one. I really had no idea that. Yeah, Jan, I had no idea. Um, that, that like there's an analyzer just built right into um Lighthouse. Like, how many times have I spent running like Webpack bundle analyzer, and then like now that we're using well, environment, that didn't work because we're not getting any tree shaking going on here. We still have a whole bunch of wasted space in our bundles. Um, but this is amazing. That not only can I get, what's in my bundles, what's causing my bundles to be built, um, but also how much of that bundle is unused code. Um, I love that a lot. Um, all these little bundles that we're serving up. So it's not environment prod. Let's see, pnpm nx serve dash dash help. I always forget configuration. It's not environment, it's configuration. I don't know why I can never remember that. It's probably because in Angular, the files that you use to swap variables are the environment variables, and so it's just stuck in my head that it's the environment that I'm building. But really, we want the configuration, the production configuration. And so, today, what's crazy is today at work, I did a demo for the company. I was part of the Copilot initiative, like exploration. I don't know what you want to call pilot bill. And so, because I'm that person that when somebody's like, "Hey, do you guys want to do whatever?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, me, right?" I figured other people would raise their hand and be like, "Yeah, I want to demo Copilot." No. So it was me and the guy who ran the demo. And running through the back of my head right now is, why is this not serving? What have I done? Oh, now we're frozen again. My prod build doesn't work. Great. Which also means that if we pop open my terminal and let's go grab my task manager. You know what? I should just kill my terminal right now so that I know any terminal processes are not mine. And look at that. Like, antivirus on Windows just chews up so much of your memory and so much of your. If you don't run it, actually, you know what? Windows Defender has been a big help in the Windows scene. JetBrains stuff. Yeah, see, I've got a dead command processor here. I don't know what it is, but look at this. Something is just eating up all of my. And the other thing that sucks is, like, what would be awesome is if I could just shift click here and kill them all. No, you got to go one at a time. Because why? Oh no, why did I do that? Why would anybody want to kill a bunch of processes? Especially developer, why would developers ever want to kill processes? Here we go, I'm salty. I got distracted from what I was talking about before. But in the Copilot demo, I basically had 3 minutes to show off Copilot, which you would figure, you get on stream, you talk to people all the time, you show them what you're doing on your computer all the time. It was a live demo. You should be totally comfortable with this. I butchered it this morning, like horribly. And the problem is that time limit. Time limits are killer. I don't know what it is, but once you introduce a time component to something, it just causes my brain to go a little bit crazy. I like to go into detail, and after a few years of streaming, that's kind of it's good to go into detail on stream. When you're talking in front of the entire company and you've only got 3 minutes, going into detail isn't a good thing to do. Yeah, I completely butchered the run through this morning. And it was in the meeting with like the CTO and the VPs and all this stuff, and I completely butchered it. I'm sure they were all worried. It went well from what I heard. Everybody who saw the demo said it went really well when I did it for reals during the company meeting. But man, 3-minute time limit killed me today. npm nx build analog or Angular blog, and let's do it with the configuration equals production. Can you do dash prod? Does that work? Or is that just yep, there we go. Dash prod. Rehearsing helps. Yeah, it really does. It was worse than it actually was. It was bad enough that the guy that we were presenting with in the meeting was like, "Hey, Jason, do you want to run through this again with me?" So I'm fairly certain I butchered it pretty bad. And part of it was like Jan's totally right. Rehearsal helps, and I'd rehearsed everything, and the problem with live Copilot is sometimes Copilot just decides, I'm not going to give you what you asked for, right? So like one of the pieces of the demo was, hey, let's unit test this file. It doesn't have unit tests. And quite a few times Copilot just came back and it gave me like the structure of a unit test for an Angular pipe. And then it said, it had a comment in the middle of the describe block that said, write your tests here. And I'm like, yeah, we show that to the company. That's going to show really well. And so it was just stuff like that was, so Copilot was not behaving, which was fun. And I'm sure Jan can sympathize with that too. His ngconf talk was not as bad as he makes it out to be. It was entertaining, not for him, I'm sure, to be up there and not having things working. But for me, it was entertaining to just watch him get things going, and he handled it really, really well. And it was the same way for me. And then, when you're doing run-throughs and new people are there, you're getting new information. And so I've got my script, and that's not something I usually do. I usually don't have a script, and so I'm being pulled off the script. Copilot doesn't want to work. And then people are like, hey, can you do this? Can you do this? And then all the prompts we had worked up to weren't working. So like I had one prompt. There was a method that we were showing that was using like string splits and string concatenations and stuff like that to put two pieces of URL together. And I asked Copilot, can we optimize this? And every time in the past, it came back with 3 lines. So the method was like 10 lines long. And Copilot came back with 3 lines that uses the URL function from the browser. It concatenates the 2 pieces, and boom, we're good. And you could shorten it to 1 line after inspecting it. During the demo with all the VPs and everybody, it was coming back with bigger methods. It was like, what is going on? This is the exact same prompt. I used the same prompt that I did that was messing up this morning, and it came back and everything went well. But yeah, it was a record your demo the next time. I learned that that helps. That's a good piece of advice, and that's a really good piece of advice. Just record it and watch it back. Um, we didn't want a recorded demo for this because they wanted it live to give that what watching a recorded demo, everybody's just kind of like, oh yeah, I've seen Copilot before, whatever, right? Watching some guy struggle with Copilot in front of you kind of gives you that what's it called in German, Schadenfreude. Did I pronounce that right? Probably not. I butchered it. But just that enjoyment of watching others suffer, I think, is what it's supposed to be. Jan can probably correct me on that one. But I really like that piece of advice from you, Jan, recording it and then watching it back. I ran through the demo so many times that I had it memorized, and that's probably another part of why being pulled out of the flow was so disruptive. And there's two different, like, speaking and hitting time limits is way different than what I do with streaming. There's two different skill sets going on. And so getting, I butchered it. Yeah. I can't remember what it is. I'm sure I totally butchered it. And that's the great thing about I'm comfortable in Spanish. Just about every other language I'm probably going to butcher because I try to use Spanish pronunciation rules in those languages. And that works okay for some languages, but a lot of others I'm way off. And yeah, that's okay. I'm happy to be 1 out of 1 failed. The reason we failed is that we are over our chunk limit. Like, look at this homepage. This is crazy. Why is my homepage so huge? Like, why am I serving 2 megabytes for this homepage? My index is small. I wonder, is it bundling everything into this homepage? Like, if we go look in the dist here, and where is that Angular blog client? And then in the assets, look at this. Let's go ahead and we'll open it in WebStorm. I haven't even opened WebStorm today, so I don't know if I need to update anything. We might have to restart a couple of times. Let's look at this. Yeah, after syncing settings. Okay. Yeah, we need to install the Copilot update. NX plugin is available. So all of these things are updating. Did I start the beta? Did I? Probably not. I don't think that the beta is my default version. I'm not going to upgrade these plugins. Instead, let's go ahead and cancel this. We'll kill this. And I'll start the beta version of WebStorm. And this JetBrains toolbox is really, really nice. I'll update that version here in a bit. But the nice thing about the toolbox is that I've got, I guess it's not the beta anymore, and it's now RC. That's cool. So, we're running the RC version of, oh, it looks like it did start the RC version. Interesting. Never mind then. You were doing the right thing, WebStorm. I just didn't trust you. It is. It is in the RC, which is really, really cool. That means it's really close to being released, which means that you guys can get your hands, if you don't want to run a pre-release version of WebStorm, you guys can get your hands on the analog plugin fairly soon. And it is an amazing plugin. No, it definitely started the other one because there are only 3 updates here. So we'll go ahead and update those. But let's go ahead and grab that file and open it up. And I'm curious what's in it. So there's our main article component here. And if you guys compiled Angular, can I prettify this? We're going to talk about my trust issues. You're looking at a stable release next week? That's awesome. I do have trust issues with my code editors. I will admit that. Can depend on the base direction. Is this really bidirectional text? Can I prettify this? Like, is there a way to reformat with prettier? That's probably going to kill. Yeah, that's not doing anything. Let's see, reformat code. That's just going to run prettier again. Actually, whatever I did, I'm making WebStorm work pretty hard. It's pretty frozen. So I'm looking. Luckily, I'm not dropping frames, so it's not killing my CPU. But whatever I did by choosing that wasn't a wise choice on a file that's 2.5K. Well, it's not 2.5K, it's 2.5 megs. What? Way to go, WebStorm. Wow. Don't show me that again. Yeah. Thank you. Don't show me that one again. And don't show me that one again. This is awesome. So we can see that we're importing stuff from certain files from our vendor file. We're importing stuff from our index and our RxJS interop. Why is this file so huge? So here's our header component. And it's got a router link in it. And here's the constructor for our header. No, this isn't the constructor for our header. What is this? Because it's got some browser sniffing going on in it. Maybe it is. We've got a whole bunch of stuff. This looks like RxJS, maybe? No, it's got a constructor. It's got a destroy in it. I'm not sure what this one is. There's some styling going on here. Oh, I know what this is. This is the material CDK. This is what we're using to hide the picture at certain heights, at certain sizes, widths. And this is our main article. What is this? Oh no. Did it really embed Faker? Yeah. Okay. Well, now I know why we're that big. Um, we're that big, and we can restart. Um, so the reason that we've got a 2.5K, yeah, and Jan's laughing at me. Install or update some plugins. Okay. Um, the reason it probably did that, we're just going to call it pre-release software. We'll leave it at that. We'll just call it GitHub's fault, Copilot's fault. Copilot's been kind of a pain anyway. So we'll just call it Copilot's fault on that one today. Restart to activate plugins. So we'll restart again, and hopefully that all goes well. The good news is, okay, we won't try to reinstall GitHub. We'll let GitHub figure out what's going on with itself. This is not true. we updated. Yeah, the code glance one is just because I'm running a pre-release. But it's telling me, hey, we updated GitHub, and then GitHub's like, no, we didn't update. Whatever, GitHub. We'll leave you alone. You have fun, man. It's been that kind of a day. You guys are getting me in a weird mood today. But what is going on, right? So let's go take a look at our home component, right? So let's go look at here, our home page. So here's our analog. Here's our home page in analog. And it includes this article container. And if we go at the article container, come on, go to declaration or usages. All right, yep, that is where it's used. Let's try it here. There you go. And that happens sometimes with just anything, right? Right here, this is our problem. This import is just blowing up our build. And this probably is the 42% of that module that we're not using. We're just pulling in all of Faker. And so let's talk about that a little bit, right? Why is that an issue? And why is that happening? But what's going on is that we're including fake data in our page. Faker's a fairly decent sized library, and it needs to be because it includes like animal names, it includes the names of airlines and all of that stuff that we were seeing in that script. But the other thing it includes is like thousands of emojis, and then it includes everything translated into like Spanish and English and German and Chinese and French and whatever other language you can think of. And Faker even tells you, hey, don't do this. Let's go put this back on the side. This is my incognito one. We can use this one today. It doesn't matter. So anyway, inside of here, in the usage guide, it says, hey, just import from faker/faker. Then they talk about localization, but in here, can I just search for tree shaking? Like if I go search for tree, yeah, tree shakeable module functions. Oh, this is in the release stuff. They're saying that they've refactored them to be tree shakeable. Let's see, tree shakeable. Interesting. Getting started. Where do they go over? There's specific things that you can import to get much smaller imports. So compiler options. This is a cool one that you can get. So I'm totally sniping myself today, but have you guys ever heard of property testing? Property-based testing. Is that a good way? Yeah, here we go. It's a functional idea. And I love, oh, I was like, I'm part of Medium. Why are you telling me I need to sign up? I'm incognito. It doesn't know it's me. But the cool thing about property testing, and this article doesn't give a good graphic on it. Maybe Wikipedia has a good graphic for it. But the idea of functional testing is you test how your object, or property-based testing, not functional, property-based testing, is you test properties of your components and objects like they're black boxes, right? So you only test the public API, but you generate tests that test that public API and try to break it. So for example, I've introduced this into a couple of projects and I really love it. It can be overkill if you don't need it. But like say you've got, I don't know, a good example is like a social security input from the US, right? It follows a very set pattern where it's 3, 2, 4, with dashes in between. So it's 3 numbers, dash, 2 numbers, dash, 4 numbers. And they're even like the first 3 numbers will tell you, I think it's the state where they were born. The second 2 numbers tell you something else. There's a bunch of stuff about the way the numbers are put together that you can tell really where somebody, typically where they were born based on their social. But that's not guaranteed because some people, like I didn't get a social security number until I think I was 13 or 14, because my parents just didn't get one until I had to get a job, and I was 12. That's when I got my first job, was when I was 12. So I had to get a job. I didn't have a social security number. And so until I got a social security number, I couldn't work because I couldn't fill out my W-2 form. And it took about a month for me to get my social security number. And like all the government agencies were really mad at my parents and totally incredulous that how did I go 12 years without having a social security number? So my social security number does not equate with where I was born. Long story short, but there's a lot of information in it. Anyway, way off topic today because my mind's everywhere. Property-based testing, what it does is if you were testing a social security number, feed it an object, feed it a number, feed it all of these different things, right? And then when it breaks, what property-based testing does, and this is where it becomes a little bit more difficult, is a good example of like property-based testing is sorting. You give, like, maybe you have an array of strings that you sort, and see if the sort is stable and things like that. And then if the sort breaks, then what the property-based testing will do is it'll take the array and try to shrink it to the minimal reproducible case. I got distracted by this because Faker includes a seed function now, which basically means you can use Faker in your property-based testing, because you can grab that seed. And the really cool thing about some of the property-based testing libraries is that when your test fails, they give you the seed from your test runner. And so you can run your property-based tests with that same seed and get the exact same results, so that you can pull it up locally, run those tests, see where it's failing, fix it, and then push it out live, and then it's going to go and run property-based testing again. But that's really cool. A lot of the things that make property-based testing difficult is generating test cases and then generating cases that will narrow in on the smallest case that works. I need to go get some information on it. But what I'm looking for, maybe it's under localization. So yeah, there's like 60 locales available. But this just says Faker DE. Apparently the imports from the main package have a bug and always cause the entire Faker lib to be imported. Yes, I remember this. So what we can do is, instead of going from Faker, we can go Faker locale, right? Is that what it is? Yeah, locale/en. There we go. So, and I was aware of this before. I thought they'd fix this tree shaking issue. But now if we go and we run our build again, it's not going to be 2.5 megabytes. It will be much smaller than that. It's not going to be super small because Faker's still a decently sized library. So you should probably never go live with Faker in your package. It's probably better if you want to use Faker for something in production. It's probably better to so like Faker is available for .NET, Java, Rust, all of the backend languages too. Node, right? So if you're comfortable with running Faker in JavaScript, set up a Node server. Those are your endpoints that you'll use for your Faker data, and then make an API call. It's never going to tree shake down enough that it's going to be worth serving. And now we're frozen again. And I'll bet if I go take a look, we go down to the very bottom. Yeah. Got all these console hosts. And they're not doing anything but holding locks. And that's the problem, right? Is our build process has locks associated with it. All of these console hosts are holding those locks. So we clean this all up, the locks go away, and our build should succeed. And I don't know, whatever is causing the analog build to fail is most likely the culprit that's leaving these locks open. But once it's locked like this, it doesn't even respond to any of my key inputs or anything like that. Let's just go and make sure I don't have any other terminal stuff. Oh, look at this. So I've got a bunch of node processes hanging out. Sorry, WebStorm, I'm probably going to kill some of your node processes. The good thing is WebStorm just doesn't care. It's just going to restart them. So there we go. I've killed those node processes. We've got a terminal process that's out here and orphaned. So there we go. And I've done the same thing in lots of different OSs. It's just frustrating. When you crash a program and then just the way modern OSs work, where they open a whole bunch of stuff and then you got to go clean up after themselves. So anyway, let's see. PNPM NX build the prod version. It shouldn't freeze this time around. Yeah, there we go. Reading add watch file. What did I run? Command NX not found. Did we kill NX too? Did I make a mess? I probably did. Let's clear this and see if that will run again. I'm curious if we can kill NX again. There's probably something going on with analog. Yeah, we're frozen again. I don't even have. That's fun. So we'll stop doing this. We'll go clean up after ourselves, and we'll stop doing this. I'm curious how many node processes that created. None. There's a command processor right there. And there's a console host right there. There really wasn't that much that it created. I expected it to be much worse. All right, we're going to stop this. But the big thing is, oh, did I just make that bigger? I'm causing the problem. It can't delete this dist. So I was probably the problem. Windows does this silly thing that where if I'm sitting here and I have this file highlighted, I've got a lock on this file. Some programs handle it well, others don't. I'm probably the one that's been causing my problems this whole time. So we drop all the way out of the dist folder, and we open this up in terminal again, and we do pnpm nx build angular blog prod. It should probably finish because now it can actually delete the directories and write everything that it needs to do. Yeah, I agree with you, Jan. I don't know that Faker was built with tree shakeability in mind, and it shouldn't have been, right? You know what? Even me importing from the English, we're still at 2.5 megabytes. So what does that tell me? That tells me that we shouldn't be running our Lighthouse tests until we're off of the fake data that we're running. either I do that or I move Faker into an API endpoint, like I was saying. We could do that with analog. We could set up like a Node.js server and ask Faker to give us fake API data, but why do that when we could just go live data anyway? So long story short, a lot of the problems I had today were self-inflicted, but that's pretty common for me. And a lot of these things will get much smaller as we start removing libraries like Faker and things like that. I'll bet most of Faker is here and some has been distributed into here and here. And so these will get much smaller once we stop bundling Faker into our build. All right, pnpm nx serve angular blog. And we're just going to serve the dev build. And everything's going okay. So yeah, once I stop getting in the way and allow it to delete the folders it needs to delete, we're in good shape. And we're not orphaning console windows that are locking other files, and so you know, that's a good tip. You know, don't get in your own way. All right. Anyway, lots of different things that we explored here, but let's talk about this page and then the other pages. And what do I have that is keeping that bar open? It is probably that. Yes, it is. There we go. Awesome. Okay. I don't understand, like, why. I don't know. I'll let it be. Anyway. Doesn't like Tailwind. Tailwind terminated. I did update Tailwind just before, but there could be a lot of reasons why Tailwind terminated. I'm going to go back to just the regular Faker import because I'm really not going to be bundling this anyway. But let's go take a look. So right now I have it generating a random number of articles. I think what I want to do is make the maximum number of articles the main article and up to 6. And if we bring in like the console window and shrink this down, 6 looks like it's a good number of articles. You know, and as we go like into responsive sizes, then we go scrolling, right? And so if we go too many articles on the main page, there's just a lot to scroll. So we don't want that. And what size is it? So it's at this size. It's 425 pixels. So at any of the mobile sizes, we go to single column. Once we get into like tablet or laptop or desktop sizes, then we're into multiple columns. So the first thing I want to do is just make sure that this page is unlikely to scroll. I'm curious at what size. If I shrink this, we get a scroll bar pretty quick. That looks pretty terrible. I'm going to admit right away. This looks pretty terrible. And it's not that, I mean, it's not that small. Somebody could easily get to this size if they just, like, if I were to take this and dock my window at the top, like that, I'm in that size, right? And so That's a good question to like all the people. Hey, schizophrenic web developer, what kind of Angular book do you recommend for learning standalone components and signals? Um, Standalone components. You'd want something that was written within the last year. Um, that would be my recommendation. So, like, let's go to youtube.com and let's look up Deborah Kurata. I got to help curate her course on signals, and she's got some good stuff in here on signals and things like that. It's like small pieces of her course. If you want to learn this, if you want to learn this stuff, like Deborah's got amazing stuff for free on YouTube. But if you really want to go deep, the course she did on signals and RxJS, like this course, the course that she has on Pluralsight, this is a small piece of it. She goes through how signals and RxJS actually work together. And actually, Jan, who's here, did an amazing talk at ngconf, where he talked about where signals should exist and where observables should exist and why. And you know, the one of the biggest reasons why is RxJS has solved most of our race condition problems in Angular. If we start trying to push signals out of templates and stuff like that, then we start getting into problems. And Deborah Kurata very much agrees with that. You know, it's hard to argue with Jan about RxJS. You could try. I don't know how successful you'd be. And you know, both people who are much more intelligent than I am, you know, suggest signals and RxJS coexist. I agree. And it makes me happy that people who are smarter than me also agree. So, but yeah, my suggestion, don't go get books. Unless, like, I have books, right? I love books. And I've got the common books, right? Like I've got Clean Code, I've got Clean Architecture, I've got the Gang of Four book, I've got the DDD book. You know, they're all sitting on my desk right now. I grab them. So, like these are the ones that I could just grab right off, right? DDD, Design Patterns. This is the Gang of Four book. I don't know if you guys can see that really well. And then Clean Architecture, you know, one of the Uncle Bob books. Uncle Bob books are, what do you want to call them? Polarizing is a good way to put it. I tend to like the way he writes. I don't agree with everything he says, but I like the way he makes me think about things. Those are the kind of books I like to collect because I am a tactile person, right? You can tell by my gray hair, I've been around for a while. And so I do like books. But when it comes to things like Angular that's changing so fast, find content creators. Deborah Kurata. The other one, like Joshua Maroney, is another good one. And Josh has a lot of really good stuff about signals and Angular. Jan, who's here, he streams, um, and he does a lot of good content. Jan is one of the RxJS core members, core team members. Decoded front end. So Decoded is also an Angular streamer. Not streamer, he's an Angular content creator. So he's going to have a lot of good stuff that you're looking for too. And then if you want to go like blog type stuff, I always pronounce his name wrong, so I'm always afraid to say it on stream because somebody's gonna, record it and clip it and send it to him. Whatever, Nathaniel Basel or Basil or whatever. I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it's probably Nathaniel Basel. I'm probably butchering it. I don't know. If I am, I'm sorry. But he's kind of one of my go-to people for new stuff, right? So, on my birthday, he wrote about the output function, which we got in 17.3. It's and they talked about this a little bit at ngconf, right? And then he's also written about input and model stuff, but there's always code here. So there's that. I've got my own articles. So I've got some articles. Mine are pretty old, actually. I need to get back into writing. I think, the last one I wrote was almost a year ago. I need to get back into writing more. I've got a whole bunch of drafts, and this doesn't even show. Like that draft actually wound up throwing this one away. I throw away a lot of stuff I write. Writing's really, really difficult. So I have some stuff on Medium. Let's see, Enea is another good one. So Enea writes a lot of really, really good stuff. And he also, if you follow him on Twitter, he follows the GitHub commits to Angular, and he tweets about new stuff. So anything new that you want to know, Enea probably will let you know that it's coming before the Angular team does. Of course, the other one you can always go look at is blog.angular.io. They do a really, really good job about talking about stuff that's here, right? And they get good people to write about it, right? So like Paul has written about signal inputs and how to do that. So like book-wise, especially if you're looking for standalone and signals, I don't think it's books tend to get out of date really, really fast, especially with Angular that since version 15, like 15 was a huge release. 15.1 gave us a whole bunch more. 15.2 and 15.3 were huge in and of themselves. And then we got 16 where signals were introduced, right? And then 16.1 and 16.2 added more to that. And then we got 17 where signals came out of developer preview, right? 15, I think, was when we got standalone components. I think they were added in developer preview in 14 and we got them in 15. Maybe I'm probably confusing my versions. But like all of those dot versions added huge stuff. So like 17 gave us signals. 17.1, I believe, gave us signal inputs. 17.2, we got model. And then in 17.3, we got output, right? Those are all big, big changes to the language. And so it's not that I don't like books. I think books are great. And books are really, really good for things like theory, right? Like DDD and how you should write your code, how you should do architecture. Most of those ideas have been around since the 60s, and we just rediscover them every few years. But they're usually ideas that have been around, and they just keep recycling them. But for things like Angular and React and things like that are changing so fast, find some content creators that you like, and then start asking questions. That's going to give you the most up to date stuff. And I didn't even Manfred, right? Angular architects, right? So Angular architects, like it's not fair how many smart people are on this team. Like you look at this team here, and there's just a lot of really really smart people in this room. And I don't even see Reiner. And I shouldn't say that because I'm probably just passing over. But you've got Michael here, you've got Manfred here. Very 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 smart team. Lots of very very good people to follow and read up on, and they write in their. They have a blog here, also, where there's a whole bunch of good stuff, like the Signal Store. Where I learned the most about Signal Store was from Manfred and his article on the Signal Store on the Angular Architects blog. And so there's just a lot of really, really good stuff in here. You know, what's new in Angular 17? Where's his Signal Store? Yeah. But they've written a whole bunch of good stuff about Signal Store in here, and just a really, really good team of smart people. And then the ngconf blog, ngconf on Medium. So I write for the NG champions. I need to get better and produce some more stuff. But you've got like Alfredo is incredibly smart. Love Alfredo. Alejandro. You can see there's Reiner. Looks like Reiner, Alejandro, and Alfredo are the ones keeping articles up, right? But this blog also has a whole bunch of good stuff in it, and you can go to the archives here and just find a whole bunch of stuff where, wow, this is one of the first articles I ever wrote, and I did the graphics for it myself. You can tell that I did the graphics for it myself because it looks like a baby's room. I'm now smarter, and I now get like I fire up like an LLM to do graphics, or my wife is a designer. I don't like to use her too much for free, but if something's really important, I'll have my wife look over it and help me fix my colors and layouts and stuff like that. But yeah, this is one of the first articles that I've written. It's one of my most read articles ever. And like Maria also has some really good stuff. But the ngconf blog is really, really good too. And then like the ngconf YouTube, just a lot of good resources. Probably way more in depth than you were expecting, but I guess I'm in the mood to be distracted today. Thank you for the question, though. Really, really good question. What did I want to do before we went down all of these different rabbit holes, right? What I wanted to do was get a way to get to the index page on our header, really. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this down. And it, So using random word generators often generate weird stuff. Um, that one's cracking me up. That one's really cracking me up. And that's why I like to use random word generators. But sometimes, like, I wouldn't recommend using a random word generator. I would recommend using like lorem ipsum if you're doing it for like a company or something like that. You don't want titles showing up that are going to make people uncomfortable or laugh or giggle like I do, right? Because I've got the mind of a fifth grader, so I giggle at stuff. But I love random word generators because of it. And we're using lorem here. We can see we're using lorem for the actual text. I'm using random words for the titles. Anyway, distracted again. I would say we do 4 articles for the main page, and then the index page is going to have a whole bunch more, because right now it doesn't really. Research shows that anything that's below the fold is unlikely to be looked at, and so the fold is anything that they have to scroll to after your first page. So right now, these 7 stories would be considered above the fold, and so that sheepishly revenge. So, we've got another 7 stories that are very unlikely to be looked at on the first page. What we could do is just down here, we could add the archives, very similar to like what we saw on Medium and other sites. So we could add a footer that has links to our archives, and that will take us to an index page that will just list all of the articles out in descending date order, and probably have a way to group them and things like that. We'll think about that when we get there. But that, I was thinking about putting it into the header, but this is where things get interesting, right? Let's put it in a footer, and then we'll talk about why I'm saying things have gotten interesting. So first things first, we're going to cut this down to just be 1 plus 4, 4 max. That's really easy to do because my articles array is right here. So we just say that the maximum number we're ever going to generate is 4. And when we put this page together using data from whatever CMS we choose, then we'll only ask for a max of 4 articles. I've got a lot of errors on this page. It's not recognizing article for whatever reason still, and I don't know what's causing that. But I do love that it recognizes my Angular, it recognizes my CSS, and I'm getting code highlighting. I imagine things will get better. So markup SCSS. I don't remember installing that. I've been using IntelliJ based stuff for a while, and I haven't installed Writer on this machine yet. But I like to use Writer for .NET. I like it actually better than Visual Studio. And WebStorm I tend to use more than VS Code. Both really, really good products. I'm willing to bet that some of these plugins that it's complaining about are ones that I installed with Writer. I need to go in and clean up my plugins. Like, I'm the guy that when I play Skyrim or RimWorld or something, it takes 10 minutes for it to load because it's got to load 400 mods, right? And then I get random crashes someplace. And then I'm digging through debug logs and crash logs and stuff like that, trying to figure out, which mods are conflicting and can I do anything to make them work. I spend a lot more time curating mods and experimenting with mods and fixing mod build orders than I do playing games sometimes. And so that's just a long way of saying that I've always got a bunch of plugins installed in whatever I'm using. I love to mod things. I love to make things work differently than they were originally intended. The downside is that you get weird things like what we just saw there, that I've got some plugin that doesn't like whatever has happened. Anyway, let's get back to our footer. And I'm trying to decide where to put the footer. I think what we'll do is we'll put the footer similar to the header. It will always be there. And then, if we want to move it later, we can. And so one of the things we're going to have to do is, for whatever reason, I can't get analog components to load in the main app. So like here, the header component, for whatever reason, it was originally an analog file. This is another thing I need to join the Discord server and maybe talk to somebody from the analog team and just see what I did wrong that broke. If we look, you know what? Let's try something first before I even go and say this, right? Let's go ahead and let's just create a new directory. We'll call this directory footer. And inside of footer, we're going to add a new file. And this new file, we're going to call it footer.component.analog. And that's all we need to do to create the footer component in analog. That's not true. We need a template. There's our template, and now we can say this is a footer. And there we go. Now we can go back to our app component. We could say, hey, give me the footer component. So there's our footer. We'll go ahead and import that. And it's really cool that really cool that WebStorm understands that. This kind of stuff only exists in WebStorm. So if you're going to use analog, I highly recommend WebStorm because of its understanding of analog. Brandon, I think there will only ever be analog support in WebStorm unless somebody ports it from WebStorm over to VS Code. They probably will, so I'm probably probably making stuff up, right? But for right now, if you want to work in analog, my recommendation is to use WebStorm. All right, so we've added the footer component, and that should build. Like, that's literally all you need to do in analog when you're using this alternate .analog file, the alternate authoring format. We just created a component. And I didn't have to remember how to put together a component. I didn't have to remember how to do, right? I didn't have to remember how to put together the component decorator. Like, I don't think I could write a component decorator from memory. I'd have to go look it up. That's why we all use generators, right? I didn't have to remember how to do the selector. I didn't have to remember to mark it as standalone. I didn't have to remember in analog everything you need to do a default export. I didn't have to remember that. There's just a whole bunch of things that I didn't have to remember to do. And that's why this alternate authoring format, this analog format, is so compelling to me. Teaching a new dev that this is how you write Angular is really, really compelling. And then, as they get more and more comfortable with Angular, we can start introducing more concepts to them, right? But just being able to say, yeah, just throw a file out there, make sure it has a .analog extension, and then make sure it has a template, and you've got a component. That's really, really huge. So it compiled. Let's go see. Oh, we got our footer. I think Jan was probably right then. When we were talking before, Jan said that I couldn't probably import the header from the pages directory. Let's test that theory. Yeah, so we got a footer component. I didn't add anything more than the content that I wanted. And then in the app component, TypeScript doesn't like this import, but that can be fixed, right? The tooling can fix this so that we're fine. But I got the selector already, and the cool thing is that I happen to use the same thing as a semantic markup. So let's go fix this. This is a really cool thing. We can change our selector by just renaming the file. So here, if we just do blog-footer, and then we refactor, we've renamed it to blog footer, but that causes problems here. So now we need to import blog footer. And then here we need to import blog footer. And then here we just need to change this to be blog footer. So there we go, we're good. The only other weird thing about analog is that sometimes like self-closing tags that came along with Angular standalone components don't work. And so I'm curious if this will work. Oh, that worked, maybe. Looks like it did. Looks like it built. Oh, that is so weird. Oh, that was probably when I renamed things. Let's just be safe here, right? Let's kill it and make sure that we don't have anything cached. We'll just go ahead and reserve it. Make sure we don't get any errors in the compile. So there we go. It built. We've got our footer. We saw the refresh in the background. If we go look at our network tab, we don't have. We don't see any 404s. These are all 200s. I want to leave. You know what? I won't turn off the cache or disabled cache. That's probably why I was having to do all the reloads before. Because some of these don't have versioning on them. That is weird. Like here, it recognizes that it needs to serve this as a separate bundle, but when I do a production build, it doesn't. And yeah, like Faker by itself is 2.6 megabytes. That means that everything else was tree shaken pretty aggressively, and Faker decided to fill in the rest, right? So that's crazy how big that is. But it's out of necessity, right? So we've got our footer down here. Let's experiment with our header because I want to see that work. So if we come into the home here where we had our header, let's just copy this, and we'll go ahead and paste this here. So now we've got our header component. There is a little bit of difference between the two, I believe. Maybe. Oh yeah, I added some event safety, but we can move that over. That's not a problem. So here's our analog stuff, and we do have the issue now. We can see that value is now marked as unresolved. It's not marked as an error, is it? Maybe it is. What is that? Action update thread? I don't even know what that is. Man, I really need to clean up my plugins. I really don't. Hey, Fromonix, welcome to the stream, man. Good to have you here. Actually, not actually. It is good to have you here. What I was gonna say is, actually calling you man is maybe not the right way to go because I don't know. But I guess we can say that it's gender not neutral. But I need to get better at my greetings. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Anyway, we do have an error here. Let's see if we can get the header component to work again in our blog. So to do that, what we want to do is we want to go back to the app component, and instead of importing the header component, we're just going to import the header. And header will come from the analog page. It's not there anymore. It is not there anymore. So we'll just say import header from, we're going to go, well, it is there, but that's not where we want it from. Header / header. We want header.analog. It's header.component.analog. And it's going to complain about that. It's not going to autocomplete it, but we know it's there, and it's no longer blog header. Now it's just header. So there we go. So now we've got our header and our blog footer component, and that didn't work. Go take a look at our console. Theme store. Let's go. Let's shut this down, and let's just restart it. And there are a few things that when you're running analog on Windows, like this error right here, you can see that it's messing up the Windows path. So there are a few things in Windows that can cause issues. Why is it saying it needs to be JITted? Well, I know why it's failing now. Actually grab it from the header component.ts. We need these two functions here. So we'll grab these functions and we will move them into our header component here. So there we go. We've now got those two functions in place. And then the next thing we need to do is the same thing we're doing up here. We just need to use these two guard clauses that we wrote last time to set the theme. So we'll go ahead and replace that. And that should make everything compile. I want to just shut everything down just to make sure that we're good. Hey, Vladimir? Hello. Welcome to the stream. KHL Vamir? I'm not sure. Vamir? I don't know. Correct me on how I'm pronouncing it. Hello tells me that I'm most likely butchering it. So yeah, correct me, please. And welcome to the stream. Thank you for the first time chat. But yeah, so we've got a few issues with analog and Angular. The issues are being worked on. They're being reported, so they will be fixed. But part of the problem we were having is that we were trying to grab value off of our event target, and value wasn't guaranteed to be there. So was it Monday night? Might have been Monday. Yeah, it was Monday night because I tweeted about casting this because originally I had this cast as never. And then we went and we looked at what that actually did, and it scared me enough that I put it back to theme. So, sometimes you're going to have to do casting. I like to avoid casting as much as possible. But, just like any other programming language, sometimes casting is just unavoidable. And it turns out that this cast is much safer. So like if we were to use as any here, any tends to take over your program, right? Once you put any somewhere, then that any tends to propagate through the program. The scary thing is that never doesn't. So like if we do const and we say number equals JSON as never, we'll see that number is of type never, right? And so now we can say const add number equals 1 plus number, right? And here, the type of number is never, but the type of add number, it's calling it any. That's actually better. That's much better than the version of TypeScript we were using on. If we go to typescriptlang.org, we probably still have the stuff from the playground. Yeah, so the same thing, right? So here, the type of test is never. Type of test here is never. The type of result is number. Any is less scary to me. And casting is never basically says, this should never happen, so go ahead and do it anyway. That's what as never means. You're basically telling TypeScript, this should never happen, do it anyway. So go ahead and just do it. It'll never happen. So this is really scary to me because 1 plus an object should be, a string probably. And we can see, if we run this, the output from this, I'm not logging it. I'm not logging result. The output from this is, it's object 1, right? So it gets converted into a string. I'm not sure. Oh, it's because I'm using 5. What version of TypeScript are we using here? We're using 5.4.3. I wonder what the difference is. That this is of type any. Because I'm good with it propagating as any because like we can do the same thing by casting this to any, but this is where any starts taking over because as soon as there's an any anywhere in your thing, then everything becomes any, right? So any's kind of like an infection. Never was a little bit scary to me, but because in the TypeScript playground, this is a number, but here it's an any. I don't know. We're off chasing squirrels again, right? I'm nerd sniping myself tonight. Anyway, so there's that app component header. Header is type null, but here, you know what? Let's fix this too. Let's rename this to be blog-header. Just because we're crashing or we're colliding with a semantic component, and so by me renaming that, I expected that to actually crash because this should be blog header, and here we should get a blog header. So now we go back to our application. Header is not defined. Yep, but you're right, it's not defined. I'm getting some weird caching stuff. Let's go ahead and kill this again, and we'll serve it again and just see if we can get rid of that caching that's going on. Because yeah, header doesn't exist. I'm still getting that issue. So let's go here. And we'll just add comment to make it recompile, right? And oh, look at that. There's the problem. Thank you, WebStorm. Oh, and it compiled away blog header. Let's bring that back in. It wasn't. I was the wrong. I was in the wrong. Again, we talked a little bit earlier in the stream. I have trust issues, and so we've got to overcome those trust issues, right? With my code and stuff. But here we go. We reloaded. We fixed our bugs. And hey, look, there we go. We serve. That all works. If I change this over to something that we know, oh, our theme is not working again. Like if I change this over to like Emerald is another one. That is weird. Why did that work? Let's go back to coffee, because coffee is another dark one. Halloween's safe. So let's go here, and it's not, What did I do? What did I break? So, in our header, our blog header component, we call theme store. Oh, yeah, there is no this. That's my fault. What does this.theme store even point to? App component.theme store. Signal store props. Interesting. I didn't think that's cool. I think it is calling theme selected. Let's try taking that out and just see if that causes things to change. So now if we go back to our sunset, it's still not changing. So let's just console.log our theme, and we'll log the event here. And there's one thing that still need to get used to in like WebStorm and other things like that. You can do .log here, and it's going to log it. So here we can just say target, and let's see. I think it's getting into the set theme because it's changing when we reload, right? So if I pick Aqua here, yeah, it is. So here's our event, right? And then here's our target. So we can see that these are okay. And on our target, oh, wait. Let's go with event.target, target.value. So that should exist. And there's our aqua. If we go back to our sunset, yeah, we're getting sunset right here. So it is working. So that's working. So then the theme store.set theme is the next thing to take a look at. And that is not what we wanted. Let's go take a look at our theme store. And inside of here, we've got the set theme method. We've got our patch state. And we do have, so it is being set in local storage. So we know this is working. So the question is, what is wrong? So here we've got that. We've got our theme selected. So that's all working. And then the app component is the next piece of this. We've got the theme store. And see this attribute data, the theme store.theme. We're binding to that in the host. Let's just throw a pre-tag in here. And let's just do theme store that, and we will give it a JSON tag. And we need to import the JSON pipe. So there we go. Method expression is not of the thumb. Is it theme store.store? Is that what it is? I always forget what the no. Theme store dot. I mean, there's the state signal. We could grab that. I thought that would work, but theme store. It's a signal prop store. You know, instead of trying to do the whole thing, we can just do dot theme here, and we're good. Because I know that exists. So right now our theme is set at sunset. As soon as I change that to aqua, we're not changing. our signal is not changing. We could probably see that if we inspect and we come up here. Yeah, our data theme is still at sunset. But we know it's changing because it changed to aqua here. And now it says aqua down there, but as soon as we change to sunset, we have to refresh so that it reads it from, and we're using template binding here. So this should update when the theme changes. So the question becomes, oh, you know what I probably did? Look at this. So that's the problem. It's working as intended. You can think of this like adding a providers array here and having theme store in here. Why doesn't it like my providers array? Oh, because it doesn't go in the host tag. That's why it doesn't like my providers array. And as soon as we get a prettier that understands analog, I will be overjoyed. And so it's the same thing, right? So it is totally working behind the scenes. But because I'm using the alternate import syntax here, this theme store is injecting a theme store for only the header. As soon as I take this out, actually I can't do that, but what I can do is tell it, don't put it in the providers array. And this was added to Angular recently, where you could tell it, hey, use with and do something special with it. And I need to learn what that's called. Now what did I do? Theme store is not defined. Where is it giving me the theme store is not defined? On line 2054? Log header analog component. Let's pop that out. On line 20, wait, what? Did it say line 24? Let's grab our console again. 20, line 20. Yeah, it can't inject theme store. And this is what so that analog component gets compiled down to an actual component, and you can see here's the class, and it has decorators on it. Basically, what happens in analog is all of these different sections equate to parts of the Angular component. Analog hooks into the Angular compiler pipeline, and it runs its stuff and turns all of the analog files into normal Angular components used with TypeScript. And then the Angular compiler can run through and compile these down to regular components. So theme store equals this dot theme store equals inject. But it can't find theme store. got inject, we've got themes. Is this another I need to shut it down and restart it moment? Let's try that. So let's go ahead and kill our compiler. And you know what? Me terminating the batch job is probably what's leaving a lot of those windows around. Yeah, that's probably a good thing to realize, that I'm probably the cause of most of my problems, which is typically the case. So yeah, there we go. So now it's there, and now, yay, things work. Forest. It wasn't emerald. It was forest that I was thinking of. Yay, we're back. So, and all of our stuff works. And our stuff in the header and the footer are staying around. And we didn't even get to what we wanted to today, or what I said I wanted to. Let's fix this up, because these should take up more space now. So let's go ahead and fix that up. One thing to do, we need to add a script tag here. Type equals TS. And that's just, or lang. I always get that wrong. Lang. Language equals TS, and it's even there. And here we just want to add the define metadata stuff here. So in our footer, we just want to define some metadata. And the metadata we want is specifically in the host, and specifically on the class. We want to make this a block. We want to make it display block, so that it takes up space. It'll behave like a div, right? It's a block level component now instead of, whatever it was before. I'm not even sure. But now it's block level. It's like a div, so it's going to take up a block. It's a block. I keep saying block level, and I'm not even defining what block level means. I should tell you a little bit of how tired I am, where I can't think of block level. We can show here, right? So block level things are different than like inline level things. So things like span, like a div is a block level component. And by being block level, it's going to, unless you tell it to behave differently, you can see that this blocks out the entire space, right? And if we find like this H1, is that a block? Is H1 block level? It might be. Like if we come here and we inspect, the p tag is also, but within the p tag, like this content is not block level. So if I add more, like the p tag is block level, because if I add another p tag, it's going to go to the next line. But if I add more text here, like another text node within the same paragraph tag, it's just going to continue on past the current, text. And that's the difference between block level, right? Like, so like tags like strong and bold and span and things like that are not block level, because they aren't structural, is a good way to think of it. You can make them structural by with CSS and making them block level elements, but they aren't on their own, right? And so when you add display block to your component, it becomes a block level component. So here we can see it takes up the whole bottom. I think it's probably going to, because I told it to be a part of the flexbox. So by adding it to flex, it's going to take up, whatever flex area that I told it to. But it doesn't have to. Making it block level gives us a bit of safety. Hey, Vinny, NVC, hello, and welcome to the chat. Good to have you here. I'm getting close to the end. Actually, just a couple more minutes. I just want to fix this up. I want to fix this up so that these take up, the space, a fourth of the space. And the reason it's not happening is we can go inspect and take a look at our grid. So the flex grid. There's a secondary, there's the main article. So our article container has a grid on it. And this grid, how is that grid defined? So here we've defined it as grid rows 33, which is a Tailwind way of saying that these grid rows should take up 33% of the remaining space. So we're using a bit of a trick that the top grid row, where is that one? Yeah, so we've got grid auto rows and then grid rows, grid template rows. So the grid auto rows, this is what makes the top one take up 20%. No, that is not. The grid template rows is what makes the top one take up 33%. The grid auto rows is what makes these two take up 20%. Why did I do 20%? If I turn this off and I just do grid template rows, and we don't want auto rows anymore. Can I do that? Can I do grid template dash rows? Grid dash template dash rows. And if I do if I do repeat one FR twice, I did my repeat wrong. So can I, what is it, repeat? Because I could do one FR, one FR, one FR, right? It's being overridden. It's being overridden. That's my problem. Hey, Art with Brenda 5, welcome to the stream, and thank you for following. So I'm overriding it. I can't do this. It's being overridden, but I don't even need to do that. We go to our article container here. We're cheating here, right? We're doing auto rows, 33%. What we can do is instead, auto rows 33% is still okay. Because when we go to a single column, we want it to be scrollable, right? What we don't want is when we go to medium, we've got the auto rows at 20% and we've got grid rows 33%. I need to go look up how to do grid in Tailwind. Tailwind CSS. And so inside of here, if we go to the docs and we just look up grid rows, grid template rows, that's grid rows 1. I had it backwards, so it's the repeat, then the amount. I always forget the order on repeat. I was hoping that it would help me out. So we can just go repeat to. The other thing we could have done is gone with a subgrid and just made the subgrid. So we have a top row and then a subgrid row, and we give auto rows to the subgrid. That would have worked fine too. But I think I can do MD grid rows too. So we've got a 33%. So here we can go grid rows 2, and then we've got auto row, no. We've got the 33%, but we don't want auto rows. I wonder if I can do grid rows 2. And will that work? Because what I essentially want is I want a 33% and then I want 2 rows that take up the remaining fractional size. So let's see if that works. If that doesn't work, we'll have to go do some more reading, and that didn't work. If we go inspect our grid, we go look at our main article here. And oh no, not our main article. We want to go to our article container. Yeah, so really what we want is we want 33%, and then we want to repeat 2 of 1FR, right? So that's what we want to give it. How I do that in Tailwind, I'm not sure. The reason we want to do that is that as this shrinks, we want it to be, well, actually we want a min max on this. We want a min max of, here we could probably say that we want a min of like 3 rem and a max of 1 fraction. So the top one takes up 33%. The remaining ones are at 33%, but as we shrink, it's shrinking too, and then 3 rem is way too small. So let's try like 10 rem as the min size. So now as we shrink this, yeah, there we go. So for all of these, we want a minimum size because right now we're going over the top, right? And we can see that these are reaching their minimum size, and then they're allowed to grow. We probably want here 10 rem's probably too much. We could probably go with something like 8 rem. 8 rem. And that should, yeah, that shrinks to an okay size. And so probably the best way to handle this, how do I do that? Like in Tailwind, how would I go about doing that? And maybe it's not custom arbitrary values. Let's go look at arbitrary values. Underscores is how I do it. Or we could extend the grid template rows and add a layout. And so then we could do grid template rows dash layout. That's probably the better way to do this. So we'll go into our theme, we'll extend it, and we'll add a new grid template row, and we'll give it a layout that we can use. Instead of trying to just mess, like this is ugly as it is right now, and it's just going to get uglier. So if we go take a look, grid template rows, grid rows dash whatever, and we can just add stuff here. Yeah, let's go to our Tailwind config, and inside of here we've got our theme.extend, and if we go take a look, we're going to extend the grid template rows, and we are going to add an article. So we can go here, we can say grid template rows. I think I want to just extend grid rows, right? I don't want to do grid template rows. And so for my grid rows, maybe we'll try it with grid template rows and see what happens. So there's our grid template rows, and then here, the next thing we want to do is add something to it, right? I don't know why when I go away it's saving and reformatting, but here we'll say that this is our article home layout, right? And our article home is going to have 33%. So inside of our article container, we have the 33%, and then we did a repeat of 2. And I'm all over the place right now. So we want to go back here, and we did a repeat of 2, 1 FR. And I just want to see if I can make this work, and then we'll get the rest to work. And so here we can say at MD, instead of doing all of this stuff, we can say we want grid rows of, it was layout home, right? Is that what I called it? Article home. Article dash home. And I think it's not working, because if it was, it should be picking this up. But we'll see. We'll see quickly if that worked or not. It looks like it compiled. That did work. We can see that our grid is the right size. And I actually like this better. So on our grid, we have the grid article or rows article home. And if we go look right here, we've got the MD grid rows article home, and it doesn't like that. Why doesn't it like that? What did I do wrong here? Invalid property values. Where's my grid auto rows? Why doesn't it like this one? Grid template rows. And it's got an auto row of 33%. If I turn that off, that's what's keeping everything same size, but that's also what's giving me the overflow. If I go here and I just do repeat 3 1 FR, then we're good. They repeat 2 1 FR, but I can't do 33% here. Can. 2 comma 1 FR. What do I have here? If I go back to my Tailwind config, oh, I've got 1F. There we go. Where am I from? I live in Utah. So yeah. And oh, you thought I wouldn't reply, Vinny? Sorry. One thing. Like I don't want to spend more than I make streaming on streaming stuff. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense right now. One thing I want to invest in is you can get things that. So my camera sits just above my monitor. There are things that you can get, the prompters that basically you can look right at the camera and see like your chat and all sorts of stuff like that. I want to invest in one of those. They run between like $200 and $500 depending on how nice they are. I don't have that kind of cash. I haven't made that kind of cash streaming. And so I need to be, I need to look over to my other monitor on the side where I've got all of my other stuff running. But yeah, absolutely. I will reply. Like my chat doesn't move fast enough. If you go watch some of the, some of the more, some of the streamers who have been around forever, right? Like, I don't know, like Prime, right? I'm nowhere near Prime. Probably never will be. But if you watch Prime's chat, it's just nonstop scrolling, right? And I don't know what it is. There's what is his name? He basically created an AI chat bot. He's a VTuber who looks like a turtle. I can't think of his name. The other night on YouTube, I started watching the way he interacts with the AI chatbot, and I'm not totally convinced that bot is really AI. I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it's that good, but I'm not totally convinced yet. Anyway, so his chat is just nonstop going, and I don't even know how you keep up with chats like that. They're crazy. But I don't have that problem, so I will absolutely respond to you. Anyway, what do we want to do? We want to get a CSS variable so we can do our min max, right? So we want a min max, and we want our min to be, again, let's read a var. So var, and we will call it article home min will be what we call it. And the same thing here. We want a min max here too. And so we want a min, again, of var article dash home dash min, and then one fraction. And so that's what we want. So it's now dark enough that my theme just changed. So before the stream, my ophthalmologist told me that if you run a light theme when it's light outside and a dark theme when it's dark outside, it's easier on your eyes. For the stream, because I don't want to hit you guys with like bright lights all the time, like, you know, I'm going to warn you guys, but let's toggle this again. We'll go ahead and toggle this theme. And when that theme toggles, this is what I run with during the day, because it's easier on the eyes. But on stream, I definitely want to run with darker themes because people are watching on their phones, and you know, when I'm streaming and it's light outside for me, it might be the middle of the night for somebody else, right? So I want to be considerate of that. So I tend to run darker themes. But let's go set up article home. And so we need to set up article home in our theme, theme.css. Themes.css. Where did this come from? Am I using SCSS in this? The themes.scss. Not source/themes. But this is for Tailwind. So in my app, what's broken in my, it's my imports. Styles, that's what I was looking for. My styles. And in my styles, I need to just have a root pseudo selector. We can go root, and here we can say that we want our article dash home dash min, and we decided that it needed to be 8 rem, and that will, so by writing it this way, then the minimum size that these will ever get to is that 8 rem, and this should prevent like the smaller ones from taking over the top. At least I'm hoping. We need to make sure that when we do this, when we inspect and we look at the article container class, yeah, so article row is set up at 8 rem, and it is appropriately reading that. So you can see, so when you're using your CSS inspector, if it's not set up, then they won't turn blue, and you won't get the highlight like this. And that's a good way to kind of debug some of your CSS variables. But the benefit to this is now that when we shrink, we stop shrinking at a certain height, and these ones stop encroaching on the header article too. So if somebody were to take and, put our site, dock it at the top up here, you know, we still look okay, right? We get the scroll bar. That's okay. I'm fine with the scroll bar when it's this small. I mean, you can't handle every size, and well, you could, but I'm not going to, right? I think what we've done is good enough, and it's going to it's going to look good enough. And the most that we're ever going to get on this page is this. Anything more than this, and they're going to have to go into the index page that we originally added the footer for. But I spent so much time talking about random stuff today that we didn't get to it. Yeah, I'm happy with the way things are looking. I really like the 24, the days ago stuff that we've got on here. I like this subtle grow and shrink. And I like the navigation. I do like that we've got the ability to change themes really easily. I'm trying not to pick ones that are going to break your eyes. So like Halloween's typically safe. Forest is safe. And like black is just black, right? I don't know why this is so fascinating to me to watch this change. But it's always really, really fun when you get your theming working on your site to just, I don't know, I find it fun. Maybe you guys don't, but I find it a lot of fun. I think I'm going to call it for the night. Had a lot of fun. Thank you everybody for the good questions, for the comments. And we discussed a couple of topics, right? I spent a good portion of today nerd sniping myself. That's going to happen. And you guys, for the people who are new here, you're going to find out that it's easy to nerd snipe me. Just ask me a good question, and we'll go off on a tangent. And that's perfectly fine. I'm good with that. I want to help you guys learn. I was trying to remember. I was like, there's something I need to announce before the stream ends. I won't be streaming Sunday. Sunday is Easter. And my family, we're going to celebrate. We're going to go visit family and have a good time. And so I will be spending time with my family on Sunday. We'll be doing Easter things. So I won't be streaming Sunday. I will be back Monday at 5:30 p.m. Mountain Time. So join us then. We will actually, I keep saying this, and it's winding up being kind of funny to me, but I want to get this footer in place so that we can get to the index page, get the index page written, get this article page written, and then we can start hooking this up to a CMS so that it's not so random when we come back to it, right? Cave butt, that's hilarious. These random titles are cracking me up today. And maybe that's partly because of a lack of sleep. I'm working on a project at work, and there's just been a lot for demos to get ready. There's a big demo tomorrow. I really wish I could stream some of what I do at work. Because one, I could get more done. I could do it while I'm streaming. But two, there's some stuff that we're doing at work that I'm really excited about. And so I'm coming up with ways that that we can talk about what we're doing without me actually showing what we're doing. And the code that we're writing, I can't show that. I'll never be able to stream the code that I work on because Bill is a bank, and for security reasons. So the project I'm working on right now, in its early phases, we wanted to open source it, And because we are a bank, the legal hurdles that we have to go through to do that are difficult. We haven't ruled out eventually open sourcing the project, which would be really, really cool because then I could really talk about it and show you the code. But like people in the know who have been there for years, they're like, yeah, it will probably never happen just because of legal stuff. But I'm very excited about what we're doing. It's a very rewarding project as we work on things that I've never done before. It's a lot of fun, and so I'm working on stuff that we can work on similar concepts without actually encroaching on like IP and stuff like that. I can't give you the exact things that we're doing or things like that, but we can talk about the concepts. So that's coming too. I'm working on some stuff like that too, to show you how you deal with certain things. And I don't want to talk about them because I need to be very careful about how I share them. And so, but how you deal with certain issues that we're coming up against at enterprise scale level. And I can't talk about specific implementations, and that's why I don't want to talk about it. But what I can talk about are like examples that are mostly the same. So that's what I'm trying to come up with, are ways that we can talk about it. And I'm really excited to start sharing that stuff with you guys too. Have a good evening. Thank you everybody for being here. We will see you guys Monday at 5:30 p.m. Mountain Time. I do have to put a little caveat on that. A lot of people are out next week, and that means that there is a lot of responsibility that comes my way that's typically shared across a bunch of people. If that changes, I'm not going to cancel streams next week. I'll just move them to different days. So be sure to watch on Twitter and Twitch and on LinkedIn and YouTube. And I'll try and keep you guys informed on, wherever you come to watch. But again, thank you guys so much for being here. I really enjoyed it. I actually was debating before the stream. I'm really tired. I think I got like 3 hours of sleep last night. And that's probably why my mind's all over the place. But thank you guys for being here. I really debated not streaming. I feel I'm really, really happy I did.